Welcome. You've entered a sacred circle where wisdom is woven, not taught. This is a shaman's journey, where the divine feminine leads with intuition and through embodiment. We are three master shamans initiated through the Onto High Ascension Academy. In each episode, we simplify the path of awakening through raw conversations, lived experiences, and a deep soul knowing. And then we journey. We guide you through potent energy shifts with Onto-High alchemy, belief codes, shamanic journeys, sound baths, and somatic integration to anchor in real transformation, not just insights. This is not just another podcast. It is a living transmission and a sacred space to return to yourself. So breathe, feel, and let the journey begin. I am one of your hosts, Jaylene Starrett, and I am also a quantum life coach, an early childhood educator, and the author of Big Feelings, Brave Parents. And I am joined by my soul sisters.
Hi, I'm Karen Peters Bowden. I'm also an Onto High Master Shaman, a licensed independent clinical social worker, and I am certified in trauma yoga and sound therapy. Welcome.
Hi, I'm Caitlin Brooks. I am also an Onto-High Master Shaman. I am certified in Belief Code and also auriculotherapy and yoga. I work with somatics as well.
Yeah, thank you both. I'm so grateful that we get to have another conversation because I think it's so important that we have these conversations. And so we really want to open up today with really simplifying the journey because I know so many people are awakening right now and we're all on our own personal journeys and that all looks completely different. But I think there are similarities that we all go through. And I think it's important for us to talk about that so that we don't feel alone and so that we feel sound in the path that we are choosing, right? So I am grateful to have this conversation today. And I think one of the most important things is as we're on this journey, you know, we each need to embrace that unique path that we're taking. And I think one thing that we all embrace on that path is mindfulness and simply taking that time to connect with ourselves. And I know for so many of us, when we live in this world, it's so fast paced that can seem elusive at first when we first step into this journey is like, how do we put ourselves first? How do we embrace mindfulness? Because there's so much information out there. And I think it's really important to just really come back to basics. So I'd love to open up the floor to Karen. And can you guide us through some of that?
Yes, sir, Jaylene. Thank you so much, and Caitlin as well. I love how you mentioned uniqueness with mindfulness together because part of it is as we talk and we're coming and awakening and coming into our spiritual journey, we want to share that with others. And along with that, how one person is experiencing it in any given moment may not be another. And that's a process and that's the individualized perception of it. However, in beginning to discuss mindfulness, it's coming back to some just great tools and techniques that have been working for you and it has brought you to uh, a better sense within yourself, right? Of that balance and your journey. So for me, it may be starting my days off with my daily walk. And I find that very mindful and very meditative process, and it brings me to the present, along with a gratitude journal. For another, it may be beginning the day with some yoga flow movement. It could be writing in a different capacity. It could be seeking out a support system, whether it be even through a professional support system as a community organization or group and accessing it that way, or watching a podcast or listening to audio or music. So just by simplifying it and beginning it in that way, it's recognizing that none of those are better or worse or right or wrong. It is what is working, beginning to work for you, and then expanding on that and connecting with that. So with that, I'd like to actually uh, open to Caitlin and see the insights that she has. Right.
Yeah, thank you both for kind of opening up this discussion. Yeah, I really agree with what you're saying, Karen. It's like building that foundation within yourself so you have those tools to be able to always come back to work with, and eventually that is going to spread out into your environment, into people around you, but it's coming from a place of inner alignment with yourself because you're first fostering that connection with yourself first, and then from that it will spill out into wherever you go, whoever you interact with, and it's like we come through ourselves, but when we start with that alignment with ourselves, we end up connecting to the collective, or everyone, the infinite web around us. And that interconnectedness like brings that awareness that even if you are just walking with your dogs in the morning, or taking a moment to face the sun and stand there in mountain pose and close your eyes and just soak in that sun. I like what you said, Karen, about like you don't have to judge these different practices. Like I have to do this super spiritual thing. Like it's finding that in the mundane interactions with life, like that you can have these really profound experiences, and it doesn't have to be this big performative thing. It could be this simple moment of you just connecting and going within, and those can really open up some profound shifts within us. So yeah, with that, I would like to send it back to Jaylene and see what her thoughts are.
Yeah, thank you, Caitlin. I'm sitting here to myself, like giggling because when you said, like, we don't have to have big, profound, like, spiritual performances, I'm laughing because that was me at the beginning of my journey. Like, I wanted everything to be big, to be now. I was just stepping into it and I wanted that huge expansion, that instant mastery, that instant gratification. And I think we have like this belief within the spiritual community that like, oh, I'm gonna open up and it's gonna be like grand, right? And it's gonna be big and I have to have these routines. And that's actually one thing I struggled with. And thank you for bringing this up, Karen, is like, you know, the routine or the mindfulness that we have every day, it doesn't have to be so rigid because there is not one way to awaken. There's not one way to be mindful. And I think that was like a huge block for me. And when I realized, I'm like, I just need variety. I need to try different things. I need to just like be present. And it's funny because, 5 years down the road, at the point where we're at now, I've just learned the lesson that it's like it comes back to basics. It comes back to simplicity. It comes back to just like being with your breath, to standing in the sun, to having just that breath of inner peace. And I know that sounds so simple, but like that's truly what helped me get to this level, is coming back to basics. So it wasn't those grand performances. It wasn't those huge, like, big meditations or that difficult yoga. Like, I'm not discrediting those because those absolutely hold value and those hold a place in your routine. But it's like those basic, simple moments of just like being present with yourself. Nothing is more powerful than your inner awareness and your presence. So having those mindful moments with yourself is like the biggest thing, I would say. Second to that is having conversations with yourself. I am always talking to myself and I am always answering myself. I am self-counseling myself. Anytime I am facing any challenge, I ask myself a mindful question as if one version of me is a counselor. And then I'm authentically answering that from the place inside me that feels hurt. And that has actually been like so amazing on my journey because I've just been able to really get to know myself and be authentic with myself. And so for me, it's like that is one tool that is just completely invaluable. And I'd love to hear your thoughts, Karen, as we're talking about this. What's coming up for you?
Uh, yeah, so both of you, a few things came up in Caitlin when you were talking about like the structure and the container, right? And that's like I went to immediately the balance within us, right, and the divine feminine, and that structure and that container, and in the safety of that. And then Jaylene, as you were describing, and you were talking about being open to opportunities and flowing with it is the beauty of the divine feminine. And it was interesting because I was like hearing, oh, always coming back to the breath. And then Jaylene, you just mentioned that. And for me as well, in that centering, for me, it's always coming back to that gratefulness of the breath, especially as a person in recovery. And it wasn't until I had the moment where it was, I'm still here and there's a reason and I'm breathing. And that is the reason why I am here right now, was when I really began to develop the gratitude and the appreciation just for breath itself, the breath of becoming, the breath of the pause, the hold between the breath. And it doesn't get more simple than that. And it is one of the biggest that we take for granted, and then we can go further and even connect it, how it's such a sacred reciprocity and with earth, when like we're taking in oxygen and giving off carbon dioxide, and mother nature is taking in that carbon dioxide and giving us back that oxygen. So the grounding and the peacefulness that comes with just simply connecting with that is a beautiful example of being able to flow through the emotions, whatever they are, we want, and I love it, Daleen, how also you talked about like you know, 5 years ago, and it's like like this grandiose, like you want to just share it with everyone, and you want to share it with everything, and the beauty of it is we're speaking like externally, and we want to share it, and the intentions are like beautiful, that love and that light. The reality is, though, it isn't all love and light, and it's really challenging at times and dark and messy, and it's sitting with yourself. And frankly, yes, like I am a licensed independent clinical social worker, but we are all our own deaf counselors. When people come, it's like what's going to work for you, which also then circles back and brings it back to, we all have different practices with similar practices and connecting those similar practices, but it's what is true, true to you and your authenticity. You know, Sometimes the best, beautiful, mindful thing I can do for myself is like, it's time to take a nap. It's my choice whether or not I allow myself to do that, but I know within that, if I do that, I'm going to be much better every version of me. When I'm tired, my inner critic will come out. And I love also, Jaylene, how you talked about having team meetings with yourself, because, we talk about that. And it's like, it's at that point where I'm like with my inner critic, like, okay, like you want to go, go, go. Like, here's your silver bling, bling boots, go dance. But this body, my other versions of me want to go to sleep right now, and we're going to do that. So it really is granting yourself permission to be with yourself. And that's really recognizing, and through awareness and the gentleness within the structure of taking care of ourselves and nurturing ourselves. So, yeah, thank you for that. How about you, Caitlin? Do you want to expand on that?
Yeah. I love how you brought up authenticity and brought that into the equation because when you are mindful and present with yourself, you can connect to what is true to you. And it's okay if new things come up for you or you maybe don't do the same practices every day or new things come about. Like you said, you might all of a sudden, like maybe you don't even always want to take a nap, but you just suddenly really need a nap and to just give yourself that grace and permission that this is what I need right now and I'm going to do it. And it's amazing how that alignment can ripple outward to others. I love how you brought up the reciprocity with like Earth. And I'm going to share a quick story that happened to me personally, but like I'd say like it was end of summer, so a couple months ago, um I had to set some really hard boundaries with somebody. And just as you said, it's not always going to be fun and all like love and light, like sometimes it's really hard, some of the things that come up that we have to deal with. And so I had to set these really hard boundaries. I struggled with it. I had a lot of my inner critic coming up, like fighting against it, but I just relaxed into it. I set the boundaries. And in that space that created, I suddenly had like time just open up in my day. I felt called to go for a walk. So I went for this walk and I just suddenly got this urge, like, pick up some trash. Like you feel like really good right now. You have energy, like pick up some trash in the ditch. So I put it in my bag and just was picking up garbage. And I thought, man, sometimes we look at the state of the earth and we just get really like overwhelmed and feel kind of numbed out. Like, can I really make a difference? But I was like, okay, so here I am. I took the time to be in alignment with myself. And now I'm feeling that alignment show me the next right action. And that is just picking up trash right now. And if we all had that mindset instead of looking at it like, oh, it's just me, this isn't going to make a difference. What is a few pieces of trash going to do? If we all shifted to that mindset of, oh, I'm going to pick up a few pieces of trash. What if we all did that? What impact would that make? And it was just kind of a beautiful full circle moment of understanding, like, you might not always know why you get the urge to do something, but then when you allow yourself to follow that urge and do it, it actually can ripple out way further than you imagine. And it might seem like a very simple thing. So, yeah, I was going to pass it back to you, Jaylene, to see what your thoughts were.
Thank you, Caitlin. No, I love that because even that is mindful. Like when you go out and you just are on your walk, you pick up some trash, like that feels good. Like that feels good, even if it's just, in your mind you think it's a little impact. But it's like, think about all the people that are going to walk that path afterwards, and they don't have to look at that. And like you said, if we all took the moment to pick up a few things, it's like, there's not everybody is, littering. So it's like, if we all just take the opportunity to pick up 2 or 3 things, like that's all it would take to really truly make a difference, because there's so many of us. And I think that's just so important to highlight. But also what was coming up, and like you both touched on this, is like that ripple effect to the community around us. I think community is so important, especially like as we are walking this path, we want to share it with others. And I think one thing that I experience, and so many of us experience, is like, sometimes the people around us that, we've been close with for so long, they might not resonate with it anymore because, we're doing mindfulness, and sometimes, we're taking care of ourselves. And that means, like Caitlin said, setting boundaries, because we're not willing to, put ourselves out there in that same way anymore of over giving, over sharing, depleting our own energy. I think that's one of the first things that comes up, is like when we focus on ourselves, is how much energy we have been pouring out and we haven't been filling our cup. And that doesn't mean that we have to stop serving, because there's ways that we can serve that fulfill us. Like, we were just having the conversation about the earth, but it's like filling our own cup up first so that we can serve others, so that we can actually make that impact that we want to make, because that's important. It's never going to go away, but it's just giving when we are already full instead of completely depleting our well. And I know that's an analogy Karen uses all the time, so I'll let her tell that one. But we have to be aware of that. And the other part that we have to be aware of is like when it comes to, the friendships and the community that we've built around us, sometimes it does fall apart. Sometimes it does. And like, let's just talk about that because that is normal. And that is one of the challenges when you're awakening is sometimes the people around you aren't going to wake up. And it's like, can we then have conversations with them where we can bridge? Because I think that's one thing that I learned was like, I was trying to save people to, get them onto the path of awakening so that, they could experience all the amazing things I was experiencing. And truthfully, that's not our jobs. If somebody's going to wake up, they will do it. Right? So we need to first take that pressure off of us is it's not our job to wake anybody else up. If they're going to wake up, they will. But we also then need to talk about the fact like we still need community. So how can we find community? And I think that's why simplicity is so important because when we talk about simple things of like, I'm doing journaling now and it helps me feel really good. I'm, just having some mindful moments where I'm just breathing and I'm relaxing. Those are two things that people, no matter what walk of life, they can understand. Because, yeah, it's nice to just lay down and relax. We don't have to be so like oversharing of like the exact practice that we're doing. It's perfectly fine to just be like, I'm relaxing and having a mindful moment. I'm connecting with myself. Those are things that we can still share with others so that we feel that sense of acceptance and community with those around us that are important to us without like getting into that oversharing bit where they're like, I don't know if I'm like, I don't know if we connect anymore. So there's absolutely ways that we can still connect with quote unquote the 3D world and still be in this journey. The last part of it is you want to find a community like the three of us have beautifully done with the Ascension Academy, the Onto Ascension Academy, is finding that community that gets you. That is so important where you can have those deeper conversations because we all crave it and that's normal, right? But we want to do that in a place where we're connected, where people can authentically understand that. So I'm going to pass it to Karen on that.
Uh, yeah, Jaylene, thank you. And you mentioned the well, and the two of you know I use this a lot, and I used it like authentically used it with clients and would state it to clients, and then be in moments neglecting myself until it clicked because we are a well, and every day readily, freely, or out of feelings of obligation, responsibility, that we are, giving and people are, taking water and we're offering our water, on a daily basis. And if consciously, it's our responsibility. It is each of our own responsibilities ultimately to be replenishing and filling our cup, whether that be through nurturing the soil and within us and, hydrating ourselves from a physical, mental, emotional, spiritual level, within ourselves and within community. It is our responsibility to do that and even like mindful check-ins throughout the day. To sum it up, like where are you at? Do you need a breath? Do you need to, go to the bathroom, go have a release, eat some food, take in some nourishment. All of that is nourishing ourselves. And Jaylene, you also made a beautiful point and expanding on it. And as we're growing and as we're evolving, oftentimes, yes, our environments are reflective of what's within us. And so with that comes the transition and the change. And the more we resist that, the more challenging environments come. And a part of it that, oftentimes we don't outwardly discuss and express is the grief that comes with that. The hurt of the transitions, the hurt of losses, not just the losses of, losing a loved one who's transitioned on, but relationships, um, business projects, changes within yourself that, parts of us are evolving, and as we're growing, parts of us are also surrendering, releasing, and yes, we're going through a death. So beginning within ourselves to like honor that within ourselves and recognize that. Um, because that is such a form of love in itself, as well as when, moves happening, whether it's a physical move or not. As you both know, I recently went through a physical move myself, but with my children. So it, even with that, the beauty of that, but also allowing myself to surrender and grieve and separate from that environment in itself in the house as, the relationship, has changed with that, as well as my former life with that. That's a huge, you know, depth experience, but there's beauty in that. And so it's really holding that. And then in finding community in with those ships, it's like really as within and as you are tracking that outward is, Jaylene and we talk about like we all found one another through the Out the High Ascension Academy. But if it's significant and it's a very grieving time for you, like, access the supports in your community wherever you are. And I'm not even talking one on one, whether it's a church, whether it's an organization, whether it's a grief group through a hospital or a nonprofit organization or within your local community that's being held, or a recovery community. The resources are out there, you know. Just take that moment to honor yourself and pause and research it. And so that's, to sum it up, that's just what I'd like to share. And Caitlin, I'll turn that over to you.
Thank you, Karen. That was really beautiful. And I like what you both said about um, trying to find that sense of community when you're going through these changes and honoring the grief that can come up, amidst that, because it is hard. There's a lot of changes going on. And to be able to find that support is just really imperative. And I like what you said, Jaylene, about, finding a resonant spiritual community that you can really talk with and connect with on some of those things that you're going through. And then, yeah, when you interact with the people in your life and environment, it's just about like sharing what you're doing. But like you said, if it comes from your alignment first, it will be a lot easier than outwardly trying to fix or save or, do any of that on with other people and putting it more outward. If it comes more from an inward focus, it's going to resonate with them if they're just seeing by your example the shifts, the changes that you are doing, the connection with yourself. That will rub off on them and make impact without having to push it, like just be, it's like going from outward to in more. And it's interesting how when we go more within, we actually go more connected with people on the outside, but we don't always think of it that way. We're taught to always kind of go outward first. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Caitlin. And thank you, Karen. This was like a really, really great conversation today because, we opened up with really how do we simplify the journey, and actually begin at the place that's going to help us the most, which again, simplicity, gratitude, breath, talking to yourself, journaling, like enjoying the sun. It's really these moments that really help us pause and release some of the biggest things. And, that really brought us into that inner alignment. How do we even, put ourselves first? How do we still serve while doing so in alignment? And how do we deal with the environment around us, the people around us, still have communities and connections and still feel whole? Because, like you both mentioned, there's going to be so many challenges on this journey. And I think we just need to normalize that and talk about that, because it's going to feel like a test. It's going to feel like a challenge, but it's really coming up because whatever challenge we face is one of the energies in the way of us actually being in alignment with ourselves. So it's so sacred that it comes up, and we can hold that gratitude for the challenges, because the challenges are really what's going to help us propel forward. So thank you both for this amazing conversation today. Thank you to all of our listeners, because we love you and we value you so much. And now let's move into part 2, where we actually journey and work through the energy behind this. Welcome to the journeys portion of today's episode. We kindly ask that you do not engage with these meditations while you are driving or are otherwise distracted. Please wait until you are in an environment where you can close your eyes and relax, so these activations can authentically flow. When you are ready, let's dive in with Shaman Caitlin as she guides us through onto high alchemy and belief codes.
Now we are going to move into the body code portion of today's episode. Let your eyes close and just relax. Relax into your body, into your breath. And I'm going to use myself as a proxy to release the collective trapped emotions that are preventing us from simplifying mindfulness, paving the way for inner alignment. Sometimes we just overcomplicate things. And these are some of the emotions that are coming up and kind of blocking us from just relaxing into our uniqueness. So the first emotion that is coming up is despair. So I'm going to go ahead and release that. And it doesn't matter when you are tuning into this episode, because time and space is an illusion. And then we have another trapped emotion of despair. And next we have heartache. Releasing that as well. And now I'm seeing betrayal. Finally, we have abandonment coming forward. And now that we have released these trapped emotions, I just want you to take a nice deep inhale and exhale, let it all come out, even if you have to make a noise, like a sigh, whatever feels natural for you. And with that, we are ready to journey.
Let's begin by taking a deep breath in. The simplest thing you can do today to just pause, to relax, to unwind, and just honor yourself with this time that you are giving back to yourself and are nourishing yourself with now. And keeping it simple, just following your breath, allowing your body to relax, allowing your nervous system to reset and rebalance. And all you have to do is just breathe. Just be here, just let go, and just intentionally breathe. Today's journey is very simple. We are journeying into the breath and allowing the breath to nourish us, to cleanse us, to balance us. Just following the breath naturally, wherever it takes you. Just allowing your breath to be your anchor that holds you, that nourishes you, that cleanses you. Following the sound of my voice deeper and deeper into your breath, accessing the simplicity of your breath to replenish your body, to replenish your energy, to let go of the weight of the world. Allow your breath to be. Allow your breath to be the answer that you have been looking for. The key to relaxing. Taking another deep breath in and sinking deeper into your breath. Releasing your thoughts for this moment. And just simply breathing. Allowing your body to relax. Give your body permission to relax. And just breathe. And just be. Surrendering deeper and deeper. Even surrendering the breath. And just allowing there to be a rhythm that you flow with. A natural ebb and flow that rises and falls from your body. As you just relax and let go. For this moment now, and with your next breath in, breathe life into your body. The energy of life surrounding you, breathe it into your body. Allow every cell in your body to be nourished with your beautiful cleansing breath, with this beautiful life energy, balancing, stabilizing, grounding, anchoring with your breath. As you nourish your body, and with your next breath, naturally flowing, breathe in the essence of your soul into your body. Your breath being a beautiful anchor for these energies to naturally flow in, to nourish you, to support you, to ground you, to help you recenter your body, mind, and spirit in harmony with a beautiful balance, with a beautiful, balanced life. And it all comes back to this moment, this journey now, where you are just breathing, where your breath is a powerful anchor. Appreciate the power of your breath to breathe in all of this beautiful nourishment. Be thankful for you, the catalyst of this breath, for having a beautiful body with beautiful lungs to breathe this beautiful air, this beautiful energy, this beautiful essence that co-creates with you now to bring balance, harmony, and equilibrium to your body, mind, and spirit. Allowing the simplicity of your breath to breathe the breath of power. As this simple act of breathing awakens new life within you. And all you have to do is breathe. All you have to do is surrender. All you have to do is receive and accept the nourishment that is all around you as you simply breathe. Breathing and relaxing deeper as you take in the frequencies, the vibrations, the sounds that you hear. Breathing deeper. And just fully letting go now. Breathing and flowing with the rhythm of the sound bath as it takes you on your journey now. And as the frequencies of the sound bath nourish you and carry you in its beautiful sound vibration rhythm, allow that to carry you back into this moment where we are together. As Shaman Caitlin guides us through the sound bath into somatic integration, so all of the frequencies and energy medicine that you experienced on today's journey will fully integrate with you.
So let's take a moment to just tune into our bodies. Let your body settle into a comfortable position. Allow your shoulders to soften, your spine to gently lift. And we'll just end today with a little check-in to our body, just to help settle the mind and notice what sensations and emotions might be present. What wisdom might want to come forward. Begin by taking a full breath in and a long, slow breath out. Bring your awareness to the top of your body, starting with your head. Notice any sensations, movements, any places of holding or tension. Notice your eyes, your face, your ears, your scalp. And slowly move down to your neck and shoulders. Just letting whatever comes up be there. Now extend that awareness down to the arms and your hands. Sensing the front of your hands and arms, the front of your face, the front of your shoulders. And then the backs. And once you've felt the front and the back, what about the internal space of your head, neck, shoulders, arms, and hands? We'll pause here for a moment, just witnessing. And then we'll move down to the chest, noticing the front, extending that awareness from the chest down the front, all the way down to the hips. Noticing any sensations, movements, any places of holding or tension. And then drawing that awareness to the internal space of your chest, torso, hips. Just noticing, just observing. And extend that awareness to the back, feeling your back touching the surface that you're sitting on. Extending that awareness down the back, through the sit bones, and into the thighs. Feeling them against the surface you are sitting on and noticing what's there. Extending that awareness of the backs of the thighs to the inner space, the internal space. And then moving to the tops, the front of the thighs. Can you be curious to whatever arises? And then we're going to enter into the internal space of the knees. And balance your awareness of your knees so you can feel the tops, the inside, and the back of your knees. Moving down into the calves and the shins, the lower legs. The fronts of the shins, internal space, and the back of the calves. What do you notice there? Is it tense? Is it relaxed? And finally, we shift our awareness down into the ankles and the feet. Feeling the sensations of your feet making contact with the earth. Feeling every part of your foot, your toes, touching the ground. How do they feel in your shoes or your socks, or maybe you have bare feet and maybe they are just directly touching the ground? How does that feel? Feel into the internal spaces of your feet and your ankles. And feel into the tops. Release your awareness and just let yourself breathe. And when you feel ready, you can let your eyes open and gently move your body in whatever way feels most comfortable to you. If you need to shake it out, shake it out. If you need to stretch, stretch. And just take note of how your body feels overall.
And as you come back into this present moment now, awake and aware and moving your body, breathe one last breath of life with us together now. As all of the energy medicine of today integrates within you and supports you as you journey forward. We extend you love and gratitude for being a sacred part in our circle on the shaman's journey today. Journey on, my friends.